So we've had a request for some instruction on the section of the form that we lovingly call the kicks. So I'm going to face in a way that you could follow along as if you were standing in the room and I was up front leading, and then I'll stop and talk about the details. So, from Single Whip. I won't get into squatting down because that's a whole nother lesson and topic, but coming up out of squatting down, you're a little bit faced toward the corner. And remember, when we say corner, we don't mean the corner of the room. We mean your personal corner, like if you're in a phone booth. So this whole section of the form is on oblique angles, and you want to make sure that you're using your own little box to determine where your corners are. Depending on where you are in a room, the corner of the room can be quite different from where your personal corner is. So make sure that you get that feeling of coming out of this squatting down. You're facing a corner, you're going to gather into your full leg and turn toward the wall. So for this one and the next one, the important thing is as you sit down into the filling leg, it's not that this leg is coming up. See how that lifts my whole side of my body? I want to keep the hips down, and as I come into the posture, it's like something is tugging downward on my sit bone of the empty leg. And that down is what allows the knee to come up without lifting the whole side that the leg is rising on. So that's the first thing to look at here. Gather and let there be a little yin-yang in your leg. The sit bone is going down, the knee is coming up. As that happens, the fingers on the right hand or the left hand, whichever one goes with the knee, are coming up so that you've got this kind of an alignment. One side comes down. Now notice, this hand doesn't just sit here and wait. The whole body wants to be moving together. So as the leg is coming down, the fingers are coming up, the hands are passing each other, and I'm coming up to the next one. Make sure that the foot, when you put it down, is going to be angled. It's easy to not pay attention to that little detail because you're worried about keeping your balance. Don't worry about keeping your balance. It's okay if you fall over. I am very likely to lose my balance through the process of doing this, talking to you and making all these moves. So don't be worried about that. But do make sure that when you bring that foot down, it goes down at an angle. So see this foot, the left foot has turned out when we came out of squatting down. So you don't have to worry about that one as long as you actually turned it out there. You will have much more stability if you are on an angled foot. So when the right leg comes down, ball first, let the foot take an angle, and then you'll be in a better position for keeping your balance. You want to let the leg hang. So it's like a marionette is pulling on a string that brings your knee up. And if I do it from the side, this is dropping as the knee is coming up, and the whole leg needs to be hanging. So let the rise come from the knee. So it's like if I grab a hold of my pants and I pull my leg up, you see how the leg hangs? If I think about lifting my leg, I'm going to do this. And see what that does to the foot. It actually throws my balance off more as well. So sitting into the full leg, emptying the emptying leg right from the socket so that this has a downward feel and this has an upward feel. The leg itself, the lower leg, is loose and hanging. I'm not pointing my foot down, but I'm not just holding it out here like this. This will be a lot harder to keep your balance on. So make sure that you just move from the knee rising. One side goes down, the other side comes up. It's like I'm pulling up from the knee to get this up there. So that's a little bit about those first two. The golden rooster stands on one leg and the other. Now things get a little wonky. This is the oblique angle part of these moves. So from standing on the right leg with the left in the air, the knee is pointing up, the leg is hanging loosely. This hand is down by your side like in the opening move. Lower yourself to the ground, reaching with the empty foot a little bit behind you and a little to the corner with the ball going down first. As that happens, I open slightly to the left, and my right fingers rise toward my left elbow as my left hand is releasing. So the two move together. This moment, try to make everything arrive at once. I have not yet shifted the weight. As you sit into your left leg, the right fingers are going to come out over the left forearm, and that as you turn the waist toward your corner, the left hand ends up by the right elbow. This is what Baton used to call reaching for the soup, like you're wearing a big butterfly sleeve, and as you come out here, I want to reach for the soup, and I got to keep that sleeve out of the way. So let the hands move together. You're going toward the elbow with the right fingers. Shift and turn to the corner. All the weight ends up on your left leg. Your hands are like play guitar lifting hands. All the weight now is on the left. You're toward the left corner. This is where you're going to start making the motion to open into the separate right foot. So this is not a posture that gets called out. We often call it unnamed posture number 1. But don't neglect this place here, because all the motion after this requires that you come from this place. So what's going to happen? The hands drop, the waist turns, the foot pivots. I'm still on the left leg. There's a moment where everything lines up. My feet are parallel to the corner. My hands are like a ball of air across my thighs. But that's not where I'm going. That's just a checkpoint along the way. I keep turning. My feet stop moving, but my waist is going to keep turning. So I turn past the corner, and as that happens, the arms are swinging with it. Notice that my right hand is pretty much in front of my center. It's going to just come up my center line to meet the other hand. The two hands have different paths. They start together, they drop together, they come to this place together. Now, the left arm is going to open wider with my turning, and then it comes over the right wrist as I turn back to the corner. So we often describe this as to the corner, past the corner, back to the corner. Now I've crossed hands. The hand that swings up and over comes in on top of and a little behind the other hand. So this is true for the next move as well. So hands drop, past the corner, back to the corner. Hands are crossed, wrist to wrist. There's a little bit of space here between your two wrists. I'm not crammed hands together like this. There's a little bit of room so that you're not too tight in the motion. From here, now I'm a little bit to the left of center. I'm going to sink. The hands come apart, palm out, fingertips up, and the leg comes up in the same plane as the arms. So if you look at just what the arms are doing from here, let your elbows drop. That helps turn the palms out. And then the fingers point up. Jane used to talk about this like a fan or doing the can-can or something. You got this kind of a shape going. And then keep the elbows weighted so that the hands are light and are pointing upward. You want to avoid a feeling of drooping them. So as you come through here, you sink and expand out. At this point, you want to feel like you're in the center of a bicycle wheel or something, and all these are different spokes. So you got a spoke going up through your head, you've got one coming off of each hand, and the leg. You're in the center of that wheel. Keeping the feeling of everything that's up is actually being held up a little bit. So it's not that you're reaching, but you want to avoid having it be a crunched feeling. Let yourself feel like you're opening out in all those directions. Your leg, your gaze, your nose can be with your belly button, which isn't with the gaze, but you do want your gaze to be there. If you're going to strike and kick somebody, you don't want to do it like this. So make sure you open a little bit more so that you're facing you've got this plane in your vision. The dantian will be wherever it needs to be. Don't worry about where you put the dantian. Pay more attention to how the leg and arms balance and relate to one another. The leg comes up, again, not by lifting, but by dropping the sit bone, letting this hip joint release. As it releases and you turn toward it, there's a little bit of a bend in. That's the beginning of releasing the leg. And then it comes in and it plays out into the foot. Aspirational, you want your thigh pretty much parallel to the ground. The lower leg is at 45 degrees. It's not, even though you're kicking with the toe, it's not a ballet thing. You don't want to point your toe and turn it into a dance move. It's let the hip joint release, let it come through the leg, plays out into the foot. There's a different angle for the lower leg and the upper leg. Don't worry about how high you get it. Start out, just make sure if you can do that much, that's a good start. And then little by little you can figure out how to get it a little higher, until you're in the aspirational place. Give that time, but do try to make that same shape regardless of how high the leg comes up. So, getting from here, fingers by elbow, shift and turn, drop the hands, turn the waist, pass the corner, back to the corner, gather and expand. This is a nice open feeling. Everything comes in and gathers. Hands are moving toward each other. I step out for a 70-30 in the corner. And as I shift, my hands are pretty much here in front of me. I'm going to turn away from them. So this is a little awkward. As the hands come back in, we don't usually do moves like this. Your hands are here with you close. And as you shift, this is a 70-30. So I've got most of my weight in this leg. But my gaze and my hands are toward the upper left corner, even as my weight is in the foot pointing to the right corner. And the dantian, again, is wherever it needs to be. It's a little to the right of center. I am not squaring my hips so that my belly button points the same direction as the toe. This is part of what makes this an awkward stance. Here's my belly button, here's my foot, here's my arms. So you've got this shape that takes in both corners as well as the center. From here, we often call this unnamed posture number 2. You're going to put all the weight into the right leg, turn the waist, hands drop, left foot comes up on the ball because now my weight's in my right foot, and we've got the same situation. In the middle of it, my hands are palms facing each other, and they're over my thigh, and I'm facing the corner, my foot's facing the corner. I go past the corner and back to the corner. So this is the same mechanics that we were just looking at the other way. And same thing here, elbows drop, palms come up, and separate left foot. Everything comes back to the center. My knee is pointing toward the wall. I don't want to turn to the point that I've brought the whole body past the straight ahead place. So just from here, you withdraw and treat this arm like the outer edge of the cylinder of your torso. And let there be a little awareness all the way out to the fingers of the extended hand. Sink into your full leg and let that spring you out of it to make the turn. And you see, I kind of lost my balance there. That's what happens. I would much rather just drop my toe without shifting the weight as a little bit of a bumper to stop me from falling over than do something crazy to avoid putting that foot down on the ground. So just try to stay balanced. If you're in a situation where spinning on the heel is not a good idea, outside, on the grass, on gravel, you got sticky shoes, these are just barely sticky enough for me to usually pull off the turn, but whatever's going on, the spin is not the most important thing. It's the turning yourself around easily. So I get this feeling like I've got this whole space here that I'm carrying with me. And I'm going to sink and turn. The hands cross. This time, it crosses this way as opposed to this way that they do in the two separates. So the arm just comes around on the outside, and you end up in a situation like this. So from here, you're going to turn. I pivot on the heel. If I'm not going to turn on the heel, I'm just going to bring it in. I still turn on the heel. I just put my other foot down, and now I'm in position for turn and strike with heel, which we can look at another day. But this at least gets you through the kicks and the spin. So I'll do the whole piece another time. I'll face this way so you can follow along.